WV Uncommon Place. This podcast is a variety podcast that houses numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts. Along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episodes. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to our Uncommon Place.
Welcome to West Virginia Uncommon Place. Today I have a special guest with me, Michaell. He is an Austrian-Californian, and he specializes in art. He is an author. He has many facets to who he is. So the most nostalgic question that we ask on this show is, who are you? So Michaell, I'm going to pass it over to you. Please tell the audience who you are, why you're here today, and something interesting about yourself that no one knows.
Okay, so I am born. I've been born in Vienna, in Austria, and then was a sick child, and then I hit the school, and then found out I was dyslexic and dysgraphic, because your podcast is also about mind. What do you say? No, see, my dyslexia does it. Not mindfulness, but mental health. Yes, and I thought I was really screwed up because at that time, like 40 years ago, they said, "Oh, you're dyslexic, but you still have to do the tests and you still have to achieve everything." And obviously, I tried to achieve it, and I couldn't achieve it because I had to repeat 3 classes. I mean, I really tried to do what the system told me to do. I just had to repeat it over and over and over, and I couldn't pass it. So I have a GDE in business. That's it. That's all my education. I'm completely self-taught. Everything that I experienced in my very flowerful life was all self-taught. And I ended up, working with Robert Evans, who did The Godfather and Chinatown. I was city arts commissioner and of Newport Beach. I wrote 5 books. So everything I achieved in this life that's system relevant, it's supposed to be the, but it wasn't anything, because what nobody knows is that I was, till 50, I hit the wall. Every time I hit the wall to try to fit into the systems. And then I figured out, we are by DNA driven to fit into systems, to be inclusive. But systems separate us always. They separate us in man and woman, races, now sexuality, because they want to define us. They want to define, and in that definition, when you're outside of the norm, you are not looked at as normal, but we are normal because we're one. So in nature, the ant and the elephant, there's no difference. They're worthy because they exist, and they just contribute to being alive with all the other things. So there's no mistakes in nature that somebody is, you're born and you're bad, or you're a superstar, or you're bad. It doesn't exist in nature. And as long as I am alive, I know we are nature. And I think everybody knows, but we kind of forget it because our habitat isn't nature. Our habitat is systems. So when we are born in the hospital is a system, then you get baptized with a religion. That's a system. Then we go to school. That's a system. Then we go to work. That's a system. And then we die. I mean, literally. I mean, we have lost, and I think this is why we're also confused. We have lost our guidance, which is nature. We are part of nature. And no system has created humans. No system has created nature. All the systems actually take from nature and from humans. But on the other side of the systems, and as you know, on the other side of the systems, it's humans too. Perhaps they have a different color, or a different, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you said, different. The world's broken down into systems, socioeconomical status, and different things like that.
Everything
were made to kind of keep us away. Now let's dig into this real quick. You're an artist.
Yeah.
All right. So art is a very, very touchy subject with a lot of people, because when I was growing up in this school in the early 90s into the early 2000s, art was something that was taught.
The product is.
Matter of fact, I was just talking to.
You're right. You're right.
We were talking about those things. And then the actual art expression, there were some kids that were better or well acquainted in drawing and different things like that. So they were more creative. And then the other arts, like doing stage plays and stuff like that, that type of art stuff was taught. But nowadays, it's kind of a taboo. People watch movies and do all that other stuff, still do Juilliard and all that. But as a whole, basically, you just go to school, you learn art 1, art 2 is your creative class to graduate from high school. And outside of that, there's nothing else you do with it unless you are an artist. And most of the artists that I know personally, they don't do art for popularity or anything like that. They do it just because it's something that they like to do. And they have certain levels of curation in what they do so people can enjoy it. But then there's the other side. And there's some other people that do great art but don't express it because they have to have a 9-to-5 job. So your perspective, why do people not deal with art as we did 30 or 40 years ago? And where has there's a lack of creativity in the world now. Mm-hmm. So what is your thought on the lack of creativity with people within art?
First of all, you're 100% right. Your observation is on the dot. And what I think, this is why I wrote my last book, The Smart of Art. I wrote it because I couldn't handle exactly what you just said. I couldn't understand it. I said, why are 97% of artists worldwide existing on the poverty level? Worldwide. It's not just America. They don't have money. They don't have money anywhere where you look. And they're always around the poverty level from every country, not on our poverty level, on the poverty level in Africa, China, everywhere. Artists always just about on the poverty level. I mean, they're surviving, obviously, but they're always in the poverty. And I said, I'm going to find that out, and wrote the book. And also because I'm neurodiverse, I'm dyslexic. I see context. I see the big picture. And I said, I got to figure that out for myself because I talked to people and they always lamented. They were lamenting. I said, oh, yeah, it's so bad. Art is, it makes maximum the art product makes this stupendous, crazy millions of dollars. But the artist, nobody cares for the artist. No artist makes it. All your friends are not rich. They have to, like you said, they have to have a job. And I found out, first of all, I was blaming the system. And I said, yeah, the system wants to just exploit humans and nature. And I agree with this to an extent, but it's not consciously. Because on the other side of systems, people have to feed their kids too. What I found is that when I dove in and I separated, here's the art product, because I found that's all about the art product. If you have a good painting, a good music, a good play, a good film, you're all that. But it's not about the artist. It's what it's like a product. It's like going to Amazon and select a product. And there's products that sell better and there's products that don't sell. And that's what art is degraded to, because the true value, and I don't, probably from just creating that podcast, is that it's about the creation process. because I can say you have the most horrible podcast or the weirdest podcast or the one is this or that. I can give it all this judgment, but I cannot take away from you, even the whole society, that you did a podcast. The fact that you did a podcast, that's why I say creation is the superpower. Nobody can take that away. And sadly, some people, even if society or a system hits them over the head and said, you're not a podcast or whatever, they believe it. And they say, I did something, I tried podcasting, I wasn't a podcaster. It's not true. You know that inside, outside, especially if you have more than 2 episodes, you can podcast, So yeah. I think that's why I think the creation is the first superpower. And I think we have a misunderstanding of the art product versus the art creation. And what needs in school, and which you have so beautifully explained, what we needed to do in school is get the people in touch with the magic of creation. That's why I say, the most important things in school is the social interaction, where you see the power with the others. And in sports and art, in my school, would be three subjects. Sports, because that learns you to do teamwork on a more logistic level. Creating art and awareness. What have I learned as a human from playing sports and art? And everything is mandatory. So there's always a sport that you can do. It doesn't matter how fat or skinny or weak you are. And there's always art as much as you think you can understand it. So to combine the left and right of the brain, the intuition, the feeling, and then the execution, and then pull out of those 2 subjects the awareness and discuss what did we learn? How can we integrate that? What can we make better to lift our whole human potential, not make the systems better?
Okay. And I can agree with that. And another thing that we have to take away is the introduction of video. Video has consumed the creation process of any type of art, because now someone can take 18 hours worth of work, speed it up into 30 seconds, and people believe that that's the end of the product. The next thing that I like what you talk about, and I want to touch on a little bit deeper, is the actual, the conscious, the part of society that we don't know about with artists. Like you said, they're living 95% below poverty. And I think about it, most of the striving artists that I do know that do it, and obviously they have to have something secondary, but these people have to go to art galas and different types of events and showcase their work. And at certain points, some things may sell, some things may not sell, but they have to do a lot of marketing and promoting that may not even turn into a monetization. So I guess my question is why do you think society closes off the actual beyond the actual creation, like the actual process of being an artist? Like that's the hard, cold story that no one gets. Why do you think society has closed the doors on that? And why is it that 95% of these artists live underneath the poverty line?
Not underneath, because like you said, they have a job. You got to get a job. That would mean all the artists choose to be poor. They don't choose to be poor. They just get so much magic from creation, not from the product. And obviously, then this teeter-totter that gets this magic. That's why they say, look, if magic wasn't so, if art wasn't so magical by creating, every podcaster would be a millionaire. Everything. And we all do it for free. We do it because it is so fulfilling. It's human success is fulfillment. And we do what we do, we create because it's fulfilling. It is an extension of us. Not everybody becomes a podcaster. Not everybody becomes a painter. Somebody comes here, talks with people, is a host in a restaurant, does this, does that. Everybody does something different. Everybody is good in something. But you want to see the unveiling of yourself. And you see that when you try creating different things. And even if you don't hit it right and you start with painting and end up in music, and let's say you do podcasts and then become a speaker, we discover ourselves by doing. And I think once we get aware of that, and it's not really the video, it's really good that you asked me that, because the video is the system. We are driven by two things: money, which is financial principles, which always works out of a lack. It's always, so you hit the first quarter, and then the second quarter you have to start again. So it's always a lack. It's never, oh, I got to this point, now I get to the next point automatically. You start with a podcast, it's really shaky, but then it gets better, and then it's integrated in you how to do a podcast. That doesn't happen. It's always with the money. How you do it, if your company, how the company does it, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't raise itself by a function, but humans don't work like that. So you work always out of a lack. And the other thing is time. It also, out of that lack comes the time. And that we all run out of time. And that's why we make videos that are 18 hours long, like you said, and we condense it into 18 minutes. And that's it. So we're editing our life, what's good and what's bad, which is, if you have actually 18, the best would have been to be 18 hours with humans. But since we can't do that anymore because we're so systemized, we have to create videos. And then nobody has the time to because you have to do the job for the system. So nobody has the time to watch 18 hours. So you systematize what I said at the beginning, humanity. You're not living in nature, you're living in a system, in a machine. See, when Zuckerberg says, oh, metaverse or whatever, we are already in a metaverse. How can we not be in a metaverse? Just count the hours. How often have you heard the phrase, I'm more in my company than with my family? We are already saying it. We're just not really conscious of it. We're spending all our life force to navigate in systems to survive. And I think that's super sad.
It truly is, because like I said, wasting all your time in life at a job that eventually will replace you with someone that is
exactly.
Anything. Now, dealing with art, let's go into some misconceptions that go along with art real fast.
Okay.
In some instances, like you said, there's certain people like in podcasting, for instance, I run into this. There's two types of podcasters. There's the hobbyist, and then there is the one they call the monetizing or the business model podcast. At one time, I never started out as a hobbyist. I started out as a business minded because I knew that I was going to frame this, and I had a set, goal and everything. I knew that it would monetize. I just had to wait for my time. But in art, even when I was young, like when I used to see anyone that wasn't doing anything that was related to animation, anything that was outside of animation, we always put a tag on them and said, hey, that's a hobby. Why is that a thing that people naturally do for some reason with art? It could be sculpting, it could be anything that's art related, even 3D printing, if you consider that an art. Why do we have that misconception? Why do we consider art a hobby outside of animation?
Because animation was never drawing, like animation drawing, simple drawing, not Van Gogh. Animation drawing was always considered a hobby, things that kids do, and that kids relate to. And Hanna-Barbera, all these things, they connected with the kids. They had kid voices, Mickey Mouse voices, and they have drawings, very simple drawings. Now they're not as simple anymore, but in the old days, it was very simple. And the system, when you're not called, you can be the best artist, and all the artists could love you and say, I wish I was like JR. I wish I was JR. And you know what happens? If society doesn't say, or a record label doesn't say, or a film company doesn't say, or a museum doesn't say you're an artist, you're not an artist. When I was 30, I looked at all my resumes and I made one decision in my life. I said, I don't need to tell me anybody, because first of all, I couldn't survive without art. That I'm alive today is because of creating art. And I couldn't imagine that I call myself not an artist. Even if you say, like I said, if somebody says and says, "Oh, your podcast, you're not Oscars," it doesn't matter. Whatever people say, I am an artist. That's what I am, and that's what made me survive, in this physical reality. And I have a lot of artists I interviewed for my book, and established artists, and I worked with established artists, and they all. Very few say it of themselves from a heart, like I do. I really know I'm an artist. That's what I am. It's in my title, creativity awareness educator. That's what I am. But very few. I know one or two or three. The ones that really artists are those where you see when you look at them, and they are dressed like an artist, like unique. They are themselves, like Prince was. He was impersonating himself. He wasn't doing this for image, just. He was constantly reinventing himself. He knew there was no question that he was an artist. And I think that's again an awareness that I try to educate people on. Look at, if you want to be in art or you want to understand about art, look at the two sides, art creation, art product. The art creation is the powerful for humanity. The art product is the powerful in systems because it's about money. So when you can compartmentalize just that fact that I just said, art product, art creation, when you can do that as an artist, as a creative, you will get so much, it will open up. It's a seed that opens up, and they said, yeah, what's valuable is really, and that's why I know 97% of artists that are on the poverty level, it's not just that they don't want to work or they don't get paid, excuse me, or they can't do anything else. They just feel the magic of creation. And they say, I can't work from 8 to, because my humanity would destroy itself. Like I could survive by art. Steven Spielberg found out 5 years ago that he's neurodiverse. He's dyslexia. And he says, it made everything clear. One diagnosis makes it, oh, now I understand my life. I put it in the human context. See, and that's why I'm saying you need to put it in a human context, art. Not just by the system, because in system, when you look at the art world as we see it, everybody sees it. It's never about the creation process. It's always about the product or how famous that person is in the system. And that's, and I hope this answers your question to a certain extent.
Oh, yes, it definitely did. Now, one thing we like to do, we love hearing about things, but we have, on this show, we love authors. So your book, The Smart of Art, A New Art Conscious to Awaken Our Enthusiasm for Art. How did you get started on this? Like I want the author's perspective on this. So what made you decide that it was time to write this book?
The fact that I couldn't figure out, first of all, that I don't fit in systems, that I'm not good with systems. And the other thing was that I actually told you why, because the fact that 97%, all the statistics that I looked at, and all my friends didn't have money. And I said, why is that what saved my life? Not being appreciated in this world. When everything in this world is about creation. And when that happens, then I was just saying, I need to figure that out. And then I did step by step, try to figure it out. But the inspiration was what saved my life and made me have a fulfilled life is so undervalued in our system, in our economy, in our world, in our system world.
Okay.
I'm not. Did you want to know how I did it? I mean, in terms of
I want the whole process.
The process. The process was that because I'm dyslexic, I'm somebody that always writes or has voice recorded. So I have to type it in because I'm also dysgraphic. I can't read my writing. So I had to type in or use voice recorder. And since we have an iPhone, it's easy. You just go voice memo. And I'm voice memoing everything. Whatever comes in, I'm voice memoing. And then I'm sorting it out. And then I create chapters of it. So what I did with Smart of Art, with the last book that I wrote, is I wrote all the stuff that always happens in museums, that I find in museum, my experience. Then I go into what the people say when I was in government with art, in the politics. I write down all the misperception that I had and other people had, and what choices they made to have art in the city, for example. So art in a city, for example, I'll give you just a short example. Art in a city is a complete different animal than if you have a gallery. In the gallery, you can use whatever you want. If anybody likes it or everybody likes it, it doesn't matter. But if you work for the common good in government and everything that's governmental, you have to make sure that you touch as many people possible with art or creativity. And so when I get $1, from the taxpayer, I have to make sure that dollar doesn't go to something that nobody ever will watch. That dollar goes what can engage the most people with. So that's what it's actually, while I'm explaining it to you, I'm getting that it's actually totally reversed, because what you should do in business is you should find your essence and find your narrow niche and make money with that niche. But in government, you spread and you can connect the people, and then people will say, no, I need to have highfalutin art as a government. And I said, no, you need to just connect that person with art. The specialization comes afterwards. What did you listen to when you were little? You listened to Beatles or whatever, and all of a sudden, or Taylor Swift or whatever's interesting now. And then you go Miles Davis, Coltrane. You expand. Your aesthetics is a muscle, and people didn't even understand that. People didn't understand. We don't, because we always look at the product. What's the most important product? That's what we have to offer. A talk with you would probably prefer to talk with Elon Musk, but I believe that you and I could create a more interesting human talk. More people will be interested in Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. But I think we can create together a more interesting talk than you could ever, because you know everything about them anyway, and nobody is that interesting. It's just we lift them to God. Nobody said, if you and I make a broadcast every day, it's going to get boring, That's what I'm saying but we also wish, I wish I would get this superstar on my show or in my thing. No, learn in the moment, get crazy, milk the moment. That's what I always say to all artists. Milk the moments, then you don't feel poor, and then you will feel better. And then when you feel better, you attract better stuff,
Okay. Now, I pay homage to a news magazine, which is a television show called 2020.
Yeah.
John Stossel's on there, Diane Sawyer. And just before this recording, Barbara Walters was on there, but she just passed away.
Yeah.
So, Michael, it's time for me to ask you some more personable questions. That's just a little take.
Wherever you want to go. Wherever you want to go. I have no limits.
So, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, as an artist, what was the greatest work of art you have already completed in life?
Completed in life? I would say for art or for the system. See, I'm separate. This is a great question. For the system or for art, as a humanity tool?
Let's do them both.
Both?
Let's go with both of them.
I would say as a humanity tool, my book. All my books. Because I wanted to show how to hang art, place art, whatever, and give you a human perspective on all my books. They are humanity. And systems, which is overlapping, but my system is, it's none of my paintings or my music. None of the products. But one product, the book Imagination, the second book. The book where I said I'm doing 300 paintings in 3 days. And I think that was the greatest achievement because I learned the most. Do you see how I overlap it? For me, the humanity of art is what I learned. Because I was thinking, before I made this book, I was thinking, how in 3 days, 300 paintings, how after the 50th, I don't know what to paint anymore, right? Even if I do it abstract. And I tell you, the best ones were the last. The best one were the last. And I was completely flabbergasted. Then I showed it to people and they all agreed. It opened me, and the awareness, that's why I say awareness is, if people say, what is your goal? I said, I have one goal, awareness, becoming aware. And you can only become aware in the moment, when you milk the moment. Then you become aware. When I'm thinking right now in this interview, I have to pay the bills, I have to get the dog out, I have to do this. This is going to be the worst talk ever. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So did I answer? I want to make sure that you get what you want, Yeah,
you answered the question just the way, because it made you more personable to audience. Now, another thing that goes on is with artists. Artists deal with stuff just like anyone else, because I'm a content creator. Pressures not inside the system, but inside of humanity. Pressures not to achieve, but to strive to do further than what you did before. How do you handle the pressures inside of humanity that make you want to do more than what you've done to broaden your perspective? How do you handle those pressures?
Let me correct you. This is a system pressure, because the system asks you to create what was successful, right? So if you have a rhythm and you have a certain rhythm, and you use that rhythm again, you change the syncopation, or you do it a little bit different. The system will ask you. The humans usually go in a direction which is called the voice. It's your voice. So when Sinatra hits a note in a millisecond, energetically that's Sinatra. So the more you work on your voice, the more you will be appreciated by society. But if you want to make money, they will take what you have done that was successful and want to replicate that. It doesn't matter. Citizen Kane was the best screenplay, supposedly, right? That's what we now say in Reflect. Nobody looked at that movie. No one. It doesn't matter. Miles Davis records. All this stuff. There was so much out there that is profound for artists and has zero value in systems till the system is ready to see it. So what has system, and there's time again. We need now. And now AI does all the quick stuff. So it's basically has to blow up. If artists don't say, screw it, I need to find my voice, otherwise I have no chance in this lifetime to be successful, because AI figures out the patterns. For 5-6 years, AI makes better painting, not better paintings, system better paintings that system critics deem as more quality. And obviously system critics, they're not critics that say, oh my God, JR, I see something in your stuff that I've never seen before. See, that's how a critic should be. It should make us aware. It shouldn't copy and say, when I criticize this painting, how many people will like me? Because everybody fights for the same attention. And so AI is here to get all the patterns. So it's actually a good thing, because AI is going to force us to make a better go deeper in us and find deeper and more of the gravitas that we are. And we have 7 billion people. Everybody is different. So 7 billion people, if they're all looking for their individuality and try to define them in singing, writing, whatever, what a beautiful world this will be.
True. Now, to wrap things up with these questions, Michaell, I need you to let me know if there's a billboard. Let's see, last time I was in California was about 2 years ago. So we'll say, where's my favorite place in California? I like, we'll just say Los Angeles because it's nice out there.
Yeah.
There's a billboard. Your name's up on it. What is going to be on that billboard, and what is it going to mean to you seeing it on a billboard?
It's going to be great awareness, exclamation mark, awareness. Like I have to play with the colors, but off colors that nobody expects. So awareness to get the attention, exclamation mark, trumps all. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. If we're going to go pimp. We got to hit it.
Okay. And I appreciate that. Now, real quick, Michaell, if you wouldn't mind, we have this thing that we do on the show called the Shameless Plug. And we do the Shameless Plug because it's a way for the audience to find you and meet and greet you across the internet and become involved in what you are doing. So real fast, could you tell the audience where they can meet and greet you on the internet and just anything else that you have going on that's interesting real quick. Will captivate?
It's michaellm.com, Michaell with 2 L's, m.com, michaellm.com. And I would, everybody that likes what we talked about, and even you, Jared, I have a 20-second podcast. There's no interviews on my thing. It's just a quote, because I think you guys make a better podcast than I could. So I just have 150 till now. I have 350 or whatever quotes from my books and a question. And when you go and do, and if you're an artist, for example, or any, because it gives you so much awareness. I told you awareness is trumps everything. If you just read one, listen to it, and then try to answer for yourself the question, because I believe the treasures are in each of us. We haven't unveiled it. I am not a different person than I was 20 years ago, but I haven't unveiled myself to be that person. I was insecure. I was anxiety, panic attack, this, try to fit in, try to be the system, try to beat the system, try to be the system. You got to be you. There's no chance without being you. And you got to milk the moment. That's the best advice that I can give any one of your listeners. You don't have to buy any of my books or anything of mine. What we said here is everything that I've learned in my life.
Okay. And I want to thank you, Michaell, for coming on West Virginia Commonplace and presenting us with why we need to be more in depth with art and continue with art. On that note, I will let the audience know inside the show notes, you will be able to find everything and anything about Michaell that you would like to know. We'll do a simple call to action. That way you can get more entrance and deeper into what he's doing. So once again, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. And in the future, we'll definitely have to have you back for the simple fact that perspective. That's the only thing that we didn't cover in this show. And I definitely would like to talk to you about perspective at another time and another date, because that's something inside the artistic mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perspective is something that you can go on for days, probably, right?
I know, and I write down all the questions. The more questions, the harder the questions, the better the podcast. No softball. You didn't softball anyway, but I'm saying usually it's a lot of softballing, not personal. It's about what do you ever want to know about art, which I felt you did. This is the real strength of you, Jared, because I feel like you asked me, hey, I wanted to know. Make me clear that. That's what I want to know. Throw me to the wolves.
Okay, so next time I have you on, we'll talk about perspective. On that note, I'm JR, and this is Michaell, and we are signing off.
Thank you.
Please follow WV Uncommonplace on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, where we have some great content, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit up the merch store at oncommonplace.square.site. Join the email list from the website, and rate, subscribe, and give feedback from your favorite podcatcher. And lastly, thanks for listening, and tune into the next episode.